While a man was dying, his wife was maintaining a candlelight vigil by his side. She held his fragile hand, tears running down her face. Her praying woke him from his slumber. He looked up, and his pale lips began to move slightly. "My darling," he whispered. "Hush, my love," she said. "Rest, don't talk." He was insistent. "I have something that I must confess," he said in a tired voice. "There isn't anything to confess," replied his weeping wife. "Everything's okay. Go to sleep." The man blurted out, "No, no, I must die in peace. I slept with your sister, your best friend, her best friend, and your mother." "I know," whispered his wife. "That's why I poisoned you." At one point during a game, the coach called one of his 9-year-old baseball players aside and asked, "Do you understand what cooperation is? What a team is?" "Yes, coach," replied the little boy. "Do you understand that what matters is whether we win or lose together as a team?" The little boy nodded in the affirmative. "So," the coach continued, "I'm sure you know, when an out is called, you shouldn't argue, curse the umpire, or call him an asshole. Do you understand all that?" Once more, the small boy nodded in agreement. The coach continued, "And when I take you out of the game so that another boy gets a chance to play, it's not a dumb decision or that the coach is a shithead, is it?" "No, coach?" "Good," said the coach. "Now go over there and explain all that to your grandmother." Two old Jewish men, Jacob and Samuel, are sitting in a Manchester restaurant one day. Jacob asks Samuel, "Do you know if any people of our ancestry were ever born and raised in Manchester?" Samuel replies, "I don't know. Let's ask our waiter." When the waiter arrives, Samuel asks, "Are there any Manchester Jews?" The waiter says, "I don't know, senor. I'll ask the cooks." He returns from the kitchen after a few minutes and says, "No, senor, the cook says no Manchester Jews." Samuel isn't satisfied and asks, "Are you absolutely sure?" The waiter replies, "I check once again, senor," and go back into the kitchen. While the waiter is away, Jacob says, "I find it hard to believe that there are no Jews in Manchester. Our people are scattered everywhere." The waiter returns and says, "Senor, the head cook, Manuel, says there is no Manchester Jews." "Are you certain?" Samuel asks again. "I just can't believe there are no Manchester Jews." "Senor, I ask everyone," replies the exasperated waiter. "All we have is orange Jews, grape Jews, prune Jews, tomato Jews, and apple Jews, but no Manchester Jews." A trucker's wife sees 3 parrots for sale, $180, $160, and $20. She asks why the last parrot is so cheap. The pet store owner said it used to live in a whorehouse. The woman laughs and buys it. She gets home and the parrot says, "Wow, a new whorehouse!" The woman laughs. When her 2 daughters come home, the parrot says, "Dang, 2 new gals!" They all laugh. When her husband walks in the door, the parrot says, "Hi, Joe, you found the new spot." And that's how the fight started. Here is a long joke between a dog and a pig arguing and insulting each other. "You're so lazy, pig. You're always rolling around in the mud. I'm surprised you don't have a PhD in dirt." "At least I'm not barking up the wrong tree all day like you, dog. You're so loud, I'm surprised the neighbors haven't filed a positive complaint." "Well, someone has to alert the world to the presence of a pig mental disaster like you. You're so slow. I'm surprised you don't have a snout full of dust." "Oh, yeah? Well, at least I don't have a forgetful memory like you. You're always chasing your tail, while I'm out here making baconational progress." "Progress? Ha! You're just a ham-fisted failure, pig. You're so clumsy, I'm surprised you don't trip over your own trotters." "Clumsy? You're the one who's always pausing for attention, dog. And don't even get me started on your roughly awful jokes." James showed up at Mass one Sunday, and the priest nearly fell down when he saw him. He'd never been to church in his life except for funerals and weddings. After Mass, the priest caught up with him and said, "James, I am so glad you decided to come to Mass. What made you come?" James said, "I gotta be honest with you, Father. A while back, I done lost my hat, me. And I really, really love that hat. I knew that Willie had a hat just like mine, and I knew he came to church every Sunday. I also knew that he had to take off his hat during Mass and figured he would leave it in the back of church, so I was going to leave after communion and steal Willie's hat." The priest said somewhat angrily, "Well, James, I noticed that you didn't steal Willie's hat. What changed your mind?" James replied, "Well, after I heard your sermon on the 10 Commandments, I decided that I didn't need to steal Willie's hat after all." With a tear in his eye, the priest gave James a big smile and said, "After I talked about 'thou shalt not steal,' you decided you would rather do without your hat than burn in hell, eh?" James slowly shook his head. "No, Father. After you talked about 'thou shalt not commit adultery,' I remembered where I left my hat." A man had 6 children and was very proud of his achievement. He was so proud of himself that he started calling his wife Mother of 6 in spite of her objections. One night they went to a party. He decided that it was time to go home and wanted to find out if his wife was ready to leave as well. He shouted at the top of his voice, "Shall we go home, Mother of 6?" His wife, irritated by her husband's lack of discretion, shouted back, "Anytime you're ready, Father of 4." In the backwoods, Mr. Bernard's wife went into labor in the middle of the night, and the doctor was called out to assist in the delivery. To keep the nervous father-to-be busy, the doctor handed him a lantern and said, "Here, you hold this high so I can see what I'm doing." Soon, a wee baby boy was brought into the world. "Whoa there, Scotty," said the doctor. "Don't be in a rush to put the lantern down. I think there's yet another wee one to come." Sure enough, within minutes he had delivered another little baby. No, don't be in a great hurry to be putting down that lantern, young man. It seems there's yet another one besides," cried the doctor. The new father scratched his head in bewilderment and asked the doctor, "Do you think it's the light that's attracting them?" A married couple is traveling by car from California to New York. Being seniors, after almost 11 hours on the road on this journey, they were too tired to continue, so they decided to take a room in a magnificent hotel. But they only planned to sleep for 4 hours and then get back on the road. 4 hours later, the desk clerk handed them a bill of $350. The man explodes and insisted to know about the expensive bill. "I agree that it's a nice hotel, but the rooms aren't worth $350 for just staying only for 4 hours. The desk clerk told him that $350 is the standard rate. The man insisted on talking with the manager. The manager was informed by the desk clerk. The manager then appeared and listened to him and declared, "This hotel has an Olympic-sized pool and a specialized huge conference center designed to host mega conferences which are available for use." "But we didn't use them," the husband said. "Well, they are here and you could have," explained the manager. He went on to explain that the couple could also have taken in one of the shows for which the hotel is famous. The manager boasted, "We have the best performers, comedians, singers, and dancers from New York, Hollywood, and Las Vegas performing here in this hotel 24 hours a day, 7 days a week." "But we didn't go to any of those shows," the husband said. "Well, we have them, and you could have," was the response. No matter what facilities and services the manager mentioned, the husband responded with, "But we didn't utilize it." The manager always answered with his standard response. The manager is unmoved, and eventually, after several minutes of debate, the husband gave up and agreed to pay. As he didn't have the checkbook, he asked his wife to write the check. The wife wrote a check and gave it to the manager. The manager looked at her in astonishment when he looked at the check. "But, madam, this check is only for $50. "That's correct," she replied. "I charged you $300 for sleeping with me." "But I didn't sleep with you, madam," exclaims the manager. "Well, too bad. I was here, and you could have." Morris had just been hired as the new CEO of a large high-tech corporation. The CEO, who was stepping down, met with him privately and presented him with 3 envelopes, numbered 1, 2, and 3. "Open these if you run up against a problem you don't think you can solve," the departing CEO said. Things went along pretty smoothly, but 6 months later, sales took a downturn, and Morris was really catching a lot of heat. About at his wit's end, he remembered the envelopes. He went to his drawer and took out the first envelope. The message read, "Blame your predecessor." Morris called a press conference and tactfully laid the blame at the feet of the previous CEO. Satisfied with his comments, the press and Wall Street responded positively. Sales began to pick up, and the problem was soon behind him. About a year later, the company was again experiencing a slight dip in sales, combined with serious product problems. Having learned from his previous experience, the CEO quickly opened the second envelope. The message read, "Reorganize." This he did, and the company quickly rebounded. After several consecutive profitable quarters, the company once again fell on difficult times. Morris went to his office, closed the door, and opened the third envelope. The message said, "Prepare 3 envelopes." A pensioner drove his brand new BMW to 100 miles per hour. Looking in his rearview mirror, he saw a police car behind him. He floored it to 140, then 150, then 155. Suddenly he thought, "I'm too old for this nonsense." So he pulled over to the side of the road and waited for the police car to catch up with him. The officer walked up to him, looked at his watch, and said, "Sir, my shift ends in 10 minutes. Today is Friday, and I'm taking off for the weekend with my family. If you can give me a good reason that I've never heard before why you were speeding, I'll let you go." The man looked very seriously at the policeman and replied, "Years ago, my wife ran off with a policeman. I thought you were bringing her back." The cop left saying, "Have a good day, sir."
I saw this bird in the rain on my way back from work some years ago. It seemed it had been battered by the rain, so I picked it up and decided to bring it home so it wouldn't die of cold. I got home and put it inside my mum's shoe so it could feel warm again, and I soon forgot all about it until my mum eventually returned from work. She went into her room to freshen up. 30 minutes after her return, I suddenly heard a battle cry. It was my mum praying violently. "I bind you, demon. I cast you, oracle. You foul spirit. Return to whomever sent you. You don't belong here. I say return." I rushed into her room only to discover my bird was the demon she was binding and casting. I didn't utter a word about it. After like an hour of binding, casting, and speaking in tongues, I was asked to pick it up and throw it away. Poor bird! I couldn't afford to throw the innocent bird away and allow it to die in the cold. So I decided to put it beside the window of our landlord so the rain won't beat it again. But somehow the bird walked in through the open window, and the next thing we heard, hours later, was the raised voice of my landlord. "Another violent prayer has begun. They have come again! They have come again! My enemies has come in form of a bird. Ha, ha, ha! They even had the effrontery to enter my house, but they would never succeed. They want to kill me because I'm a landlord. They have failed. No evil bird fashioned against me and my household shall ever prosper. You demon! Who sent you? What bring you? Who form you? Die by fire! I say die by fire!
My dear wife, you will surely understand that I have certain needs that you, being 57 years old, can no longer satisfy. I am very happy with and I value you as a good wife. Therefore, after you read this letter, I hope that you will not wrongly interpret the fact that I will be spending the evening with my 18-year-old secretary at the Comfort Inn Hotel. Please don't be upset. I shall be home before midnight. When the Sam came home late that night, he found the following letter on the dining table. My dear husband, I received your letter and thank you for your honesty about my being 57 years old. I would like to take this opportunity to remind you that you are also 57 years old. As you know, I am a maths teacher at your local area. I would like to inform you that while you read this, I will be at the Hotel Fiesta with Bob, one of my students, who is also the assistant tennis coach. He's young, virile, and, like your secretary, is 18 years old. As a successfully businessman who has an excellent knowledge of maths, you will understand that we are in the same situation, although with one smaller difference, where 18 goes into 57, a lot more times 57 goes into 18. Therefore, I will not be home until sometime tomorrow.
A woman comes home and tells her husband, "Remember those headaches I've been having all these years? Well, they're gone." "No more headaches?" the husband asks. "What happened?" His wife replies, "Margie referred me to a hypnotist. He told me to stand in front of a mirror, stare at myself, and repeat 3 times, 'I do not have a headache. I do not have a headache. I do not have a headache.' It worked. The headaches are all gone." "Well, that is wonderful," replies the husband. His wife then says, "You know, you haven't been exactly a ball of fire in the bedroom these last few years. Why don't you go see the hypnotist and see if he can do anything for that?" The husband agrees to try it. Following his appointment, the husband comes home, rips off his clothes, picks up his wife, and carries her into the bedroom. He puts her on the bed and says, "Don't move. I'll be right back." He goes into the bathroom and comes back a few minutes later and jumps into bed and makes passionate love to his wife like never before. His wife says, "Boy, that was wonderful." The husband says, "Don't move. I will be right back." He goes back into the bathroom, comes back, and round 2 was even better than the first time. The wife sits up and her head is spinning. Her husband again says, "Don't move. I'll be right back." With that, he goes back in the bathroom. This time, his wife quietly follows him, and there, in the bathroom, she sees him standing at the mirror and saying, "She's not my wife. She's not my wife. She's not my wife." His funeral service will be held on Saturday.
A man is sleeping next to his wife when he hears a loud knock on his door. He rolls over and looks at his clock, and it's 3 a.m. "I'm not getting out of bed at this time," he thinks, and rolls over. Then a louder knock follows. "Aren't you going to answer that?" says his wife. So he drags himself out of bed and goes downstairs. He opens the door, and there is a man standing at the door. It didn't take the homeowner long to realize the man was drunk. "Hi there," slurs the stranger. "Can you give me a push?" "No, get lost. It's 3 a.m. I was in bed," says the man and slams the door. He goes back up to bed and tells his wife what happened, and she says, "Dave, that wasn't very nice of you. Remember that night we broke down in the pouring rain on the way to pick the kids up from the babysitter, and you had to knock on that man's house to get us started again? What would have happened if he'd told us to get lost?" "But the guy was drunk," says the husband. "It doesn't matter," says the wife. "He needs our help, and it would be the Christian thing to help him." So the husband gets out of bed again, gets dressed, and goes downstairs. He opens the door, and not being able to see the stranger anywhere, he shouts, "Hey, do you still want to push?" And he hears a voice cry out, "Yeah, please." So, still being unable to see the stranger, he shouts, "Where are you?" And the stranger replies, "I'm over here, on your swing."
I had a phone conversation today with a very nice young chap from Nigeria. This is how it went. "Hello, sir. How are you today?" "I'm very well, thank you for asking. And how are you? And more to the point, who are you?" "Sir, my name is Ahmed, and I'm calling you from Microsoft." "Microsoft, eh? Is that a city in Nigeria? How's the weather there today?" "No, sir. Microsoft, the computer company. I'm calling to tell you that we have found a problem with your computer, and—" "Really? Well, that's quite concerning." "Yes, sir. It can become very serious indeed, but thankfully I will be able to fix it for you. Now, if you know, I meant it's very concerning because, you see, I don't have a computer." "You don't?" "I don't." "Ah, it must be a problem on your laptop, sir." "Don't have one." "iPad?" "Nope." "Tablet?" "Nope, I have none of those things. As a matter of fact, I don't even have a telephone." After a few seconds of silence, he said, "Ah, sir, you are lying to me now." I said, "Well, you started it," and put the phone down.